Hi, everybody. Welcome to the topic chat for today. It is not St. Patrick's Day. May as well be because today we're doing a session on luck. This is my lucky hat, or at least it's my lucky patch that I put on my hat. I'm going to be a little more professional and take off my ball cap today, but I did wear it this morning for our workout and just to give myself a little extra luck. Today we're talking about luck. What is this thing? Why? How do we create it? Is it real? Is it fake? Is it just a figment of our imaginations? I will try and answer that question based upon just some things that I did. I want to give a quick shout out to a couple people who are here today, at least in the live group, um, or maybe watching this. Michael Bradley, Emma Dewar Alston. She had a different last name when we had her on St. Patrick's Day in 2022. And I think we also had Jesse Metcalf. So the three of them were panelists who helped me think through this idea of what is luck. And so I put a shout out back in or a request out in 2022, and the three of them came on and helped me think through this idea of luck. And so here we are today. And I love may the odds ever be in your favor as a quick shout out there too. I want to start by saying I'm going to talk a lot from my own perspective, and I want to recognize that in many ways I have a lot of privilege, whether I have brought it on myself or not. In many ways, I feel I have privilege in that I'm a white man, and I'm going to speak from that place of privilege. I think we all have some level of privilege, and that we have an hour to sit and talk about luck of all things. But I recognize that in some ways this may not always resonate with you. I've tried to think about the fact that I have this privilege, and that by talking in the ways that I do, it may not always resonate, but I do think I tried hard to try and bring this back to all of us, and from the perspective that we can all appreciate these ideas. But certainly, as a white man, I have a lot of references to things that involve white men as well. But I did my work to try and see it from different lenses in the best way that I could. So let's answer this question. Let's fill in this blank. Think through this. Luck favors the prepared. You've often heard that. Perhaps you've heard luck favors the extroverted. I consider myself extroverted. I think outwardly. You probably experienced that with me here. Or the PhD. We think those PhD people have a lot of luck. Perhaps they're bold. Maybe the prepared mind, or even those people who are obsessed by their details. Or the charismatic. We're going to keep going here. Generous. Maybe the modest. Maybe the gregarious. Maybe the beautiful. Or the optimistic. Maybe even the self-confident or the connected. Perhaps those people who are good talkers, or more likely, I think, good listeners. Maybe those people who are humble or proud. But I think that in my experience and through my readings with a lot of different books, including this one, Built to Last, luck favors the persistent. And that is a quote from Jim Collins, one of my favorite authors. And I just found out today, just published a book last month. So very excited about that. But he wrote this book, Built to Last, which was the first of many books that I reference a lot in my sessions. And I think that while his work and the work that he did with Jerry Porras and with Morton Hanson, and he did on his own with Good to Great, they're based upon big businesses like Walgreens and these corporations that are Fortune 500s. And it's a qualitative study where they did interviews. They also did a lot of quantitative work. And as much as I keep wanting to discount those ideas because they're based on businesses that are not our small little independent consulting practices, one person, two person, even up to 15 people type of operations. They continue to be applicable, and they continue to make sense to me. And even Jim Collins realized he needed to do a Good to Great for the social sector. So this is a little monograph. It's literal. You can see how thin it is. But that is one of the things that he put out because he realized a lot of people were saying, this is really applicable to me. So he put that out there. You'll see here, and I can barely see this. Maybe you can see it just fine. This is actually, I, I was doing this interactive thing with AI yesterday, and I can't find this in any of his books, but this is a wonderful little table that my AI, my Gemini, put together for me, talking about the different types of companies, of mediocre companies versus visionary companies, which is often what he does. He looks at these companies that did great things. They became built to last, or they became great, yeah, and versus good or average or whatever. And I asked about luck on this, and it was an interesting thing. I'm happy to share these slides after the fact, but you're going to find, based upon this research that my AI did, based upon all the books that he wrote, that luck is an event to be managed. It's about persistence. That you have a high volume. This is actually from his book, Great by Choice. A high volume of tries to find good luck, or what they say, shoot bullets before you shoot cannonballs. The idea of small and not too expensive ideas, of just throwing them out there to see what sticks to the wall, versus you putting a lot of effort and energy towards something that may or may not have any success. And when we're talking about preparation, are you prepared to capitalize on the lucky break? And what they talk about is that instead of return on investment, what's your return on luck? So this is a little bit of background, but I thought, well, how does this all apply to us as independent consultants? And so my thesis is this: when all the readings I've done, all the books I've listened to while I'm out rucking, walking with a weighted backpack, and just all this different business jargon and the things that I hear over and over again, this is the thesis. Passion beats talent. You can be extremely talented, but if you're not prepared to put that to put some hard work behind that talent, you're not going to get success. You may not have talent, but if you have passion and you're going to really work for it, you can beat it out. And that's the thesis. And so I said to myself, this is a great idea. Why don't I do my own version of the Collins research? And I and I have reader notes here, but it's only giving me this much of this. But what I'm going to share with you now is my own qualitative analysis that's based upon a available sample. It's totally unscientific, and it's based upon my love of memes. So let's see what we find through my own available sample that's completely unscientific. We like to see hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's the same idea as what we just saw. Albert Einstein, perhaps, as we know, Albert Einstein gets attributed to a lot of things that are perhaps not what he actually said, but somebody put out a post that Albert Einstein said, "I have no special talent, I'm only passionately curious." Or this beautiful little drawing that was probably done by AI. Actually, this is a couple years old. I bet this was done before AI was taking over our lives, or at least we didn't know it was yet. It's the will, not the skill. If at first you don't succeed, try again. That's an overused one. And then, of course, we all know this one. It's classic. Luck favors the mind that is prepared. And then, of course, no good quote we need to do a quote of Socrates and put it against a mountaintop, or one from Samuel Goldwyn. And this is actually one we see a lot. The harder I work, the luckier I get, with a sunrise or a sunset in the mountains. But these aren't just about old dead white men. We also have The Incredibles. Luck favors the prepared, darling. But we do have some other very prominent folks. You don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas. One of our Supreme Court justices says, "I've spent my whole life learning how to do things that were hard for me." And then, of course, no good quote series is complete without something from Oprah Winfrey. And actually, I think this is probably one of the best quotes of the bunch. "I don't believe in luck. Luck is preparation meeting opportunity." I believe in luck. I believe that luck happens. But I do believe that luck happens to those who are prepared to meet that opportunity. And so, getting into my own thesis and taking this to another step, let's revisit some things. If you've been around and you went to my niche, and yes, I said it with a niche, and you can say it as a niche. I'm not going to judge you for that. If you revisit the niche, um, which is also known as the hedgehog concept from Jim Collins, um, the idea here, and I actually add the what the world needs is you need to be focusing on what you love, what you're good at, what you can get paid for, and what the world needs. And so that's actually implementing the ikigai concept as well. But if you're focusing on all four of those things at the same time and continuing to focus on those with diligence and persistence, that's going to be your way to success. If you get too far off on the side, particularly at things that you're good at and you can get paid for, but you don't love anymore, or perhaps things that the world doesn't need, you're in an unsustainable situation. Should be focused on that overlap of those four circles. So that's my niche concept combined with Jim Collins's hedgehog concept. Taking that to the next step, we want to revisit his flywheel concept. So the flywheel is a mechanical, and this is usually where I go, this just doesn't make sense. Let's talk about this as a Ferris wheel. So the idea of the flywheel is it's this mechanical thing that we never see inside of our cars that uses inertia to get going. But I like to think about this as the Ferris wheel because, well, I understand Ferris wheels and I don't understand flywheels. But if your business or whatever you're attempting to do is judged by, in this situation, in this example, how fast a Ferris wheel spins, the only way you can get that Ferris wheel spinning is by your own physical ability to just start spinning it. So imagine on day one, you have to start pulling on that Ferris wheel and you start pulling it down little by little and it moves very slowly. But then you reach up again and then you start pulling it a little bit further and then you start to see it spinning slowly and more slowly. Well, this is the idea of continuing to focus your attention and having some passion towards the work that you want to do. So in this kind of crazy idea, your passion for your work is symbolically identified as you spinning a Ferris wheel. Now, you've got to stay focused on the hedgehog concept, on this intersection of the four circles. If you are passionate about what you do and you show up each day and you go to conferences and you talk to people and you go to Grant Professionals Association meetings and you find the people, you find your crowd of people that you want to be around and you're continuing to focus on that, your Ferris wheel will start spinning faster and faster. So this is the backstory. Now let's take this to luck. This is a concept that I came up with in 2021, and I bring it up from time to time, but I think it's relevant here. To create luck and your eventual success, to spin that Ferris wheel, you start with your passion. That's the passion of whatever it is that you care about. That's your niche. That's that intersection of those four circles. Then you show up with persistence. You show up day after day pulling down on that Ferris wheel, and that Ferris wheel is continuing to spin, and it's continuing to spin, continuing to spin, and it gets faster and faster as you show up and you're persistent after it. Okay, you may have talent, you may not have talent. Hopefully, you're going to develop talent through your passion and your love and your care and concern for the work that you do. Now, if you don't care and concern, if you have fallen out of love with this, you need a new niche. That's a whole nother IC topic chat. But we're assuming in this situation, you have that passion for the work that you do, and you're persistently showing up over and over and over again. With that comes opportunity because you keep showing up. You keep going to these places. You've been invited to go speak to people. You've gone to conferences and introduced yourself. You are finding your crowd of people that you want to be around. That's where you find your luck. And the luck happens in many ways, as we saw that Oprah Winfrey. Luck happens to those people who come prepared, who have been persistent and passionate and sought out those opportunities and found the opportunities that came to them. And the more you continue this circle, the more passion you have, which feeds your persistence, which creates more opportunities, which creates more luck. And that's the success metric. And that's the big idea. This is my big formula here. And I want to credit this image to Laura Keene because the original one looked like this. And I think you can agree this looks a lot better. So thank you, Laura Keene, for that. So as with when I do a lot of my IC topic chat sessions, I like to give you 5.5 takeaways. So our 5.5 takeaways is luck can be developed. Passion beats talent. You need to embrace your niche. Oops, wrong way. Once you found that niche, it's the persistence, taking the niche to the persistence, which will prepare you to capitalize on your luck because the opportunities will come, the luck will follow the opportunities, and then your opportunities will grow. You also need to prepare for those hard times. And I didn't really spend much time talking about bad luck, but there is bad luck. A lot of us would say 2025 was a bad luck year for a lot of us. And I can say that was certainly the case. So you have to find ways to persist through the bad luck. You need to prepare for it to the degree you can. I don't know that I was prepared for 2025, but we took it all into advice and understood what we needed to do to be sustainable. And so we made a lot of really hard, very difficult decisions throughout 2025. But that persistence and that love and that care and was what pushed us through those times. All right. So that's the session today. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Before we go, I want to share the upcoming sessions. You'll see we're scaling your business with Meg Gassinoff next week. MJ, we'll be talking about the art of gathering. I'll do a core topic on business structures on May 14th. Then we'll go into MOUs and pro bono evaluation proposal writing, which is another topic I'll do. And then I'm doing a panel discussion with several of our folks here about recovering academics. Core topic, you see it all in caps. It's just my way of grabbing your attention. That's a session that's repeated every year. We have 12 core topics a year, one every month. And so that's the core topic for May. The core topics are those sessions that people ask a lot about or very interested in. And for whatever reason, they are for real evergreen because we repeat them every year, usually in the same month. And it's also something we usually incorporate into the workshops that we do. The pre-conference workshop, or if we do that, we also do the workshops. Laura Keene and I do the workshops for the, sometimes as an e-study, but also we do them independently online through Zoom. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording and we will get into the chat. So if you're out there in YouTube land, I'm glad that you joined me today. If you're here live, stick around.